Good morning, friends, and welcome to the pre-market view. Friends, November series concluded with record gains for our markets in excess of about 2 to 2.25%. And if you look at the overall performance of the Indian market right from January till November, we have comprehensively outperformed most of the other markets and registered gain of about 24%, which is much higher than most of the markets, including emerging markets. And even on a USD INR adjusted returns, if you look at it, it's close to about 20.5%, which is quite impressive in the current scenario. So that bodes well for the sentiment. Also, the series that concluded in November, the volumes were record high, and in terms of index also we have closed at the highest level from April 2011. So overall sentiment and momentum in the market is quite positive. Talking about the global markets, US markets are marginally up as we have contradictory statements coming on the US fiscal cliff, and the time frame within which this could be resolved is something that is not very clear to most of the people. So till we see the resolution of this issue, you will see that uncertainty in statements coming out from different sections of the politicians. And the European markets were sharply up about 0.5 to almost 1.5%. Mainly because of the fact that the Italian auctions went off quite smoothly, and they could raise about 2.9 billion euros at a record low yield of 4.45%. When we look at the Asian markets, most of these markets are reacting positively to the data that came out from Japan, and the industrial output was much higher than expectations. We are seeing the Nikkei up by almost 0.93%, and Hang Seng is also about 0.4%. Talking about our own markets, SGX Nifty is suggesting that we are going to have a positive start of about 15 points. And yesterday also our markets did extremely well, and they closed at about 5845, which is a record low for our markets. And the breadth of the market was quite positive. And the thing that remains to be seen is what really happens on the domestic front as far as the current parliament impasse is concerned. And we're going to have the voting on the FDI in retail. So what would be the outcome of that is something that the market is going to watch out for. In terms of flows, friends, FIs were huge buyers yesterday, and they bought close to about 1600 crore in the cash market, and a similar number was there for F&O also. And the domestic institutions were sellers to the tune of about 900 odd crore. On that note, let me invite Shaival to take us through important statistics and rollover on the F&O markets and the ideas and strategies that we can look at for the current series.
Good morning, friends. Let's have a view at derivatives now. Friends, what we've seen is that we had a sparkling expiry yesterday, and now we have seen that for the second month in a row, Nifty futures have started below the mark of 2 crore shares in the open interest. Whereas on the other hand, what we have seen is that the PCR ratio has managed to start above the mark of 1 and is at 1.06, which is a comfortable level, and it's a good sign for the market. Now, talking about the rollover, friends, from last 3 months we were seeing that Nifty rollover stood at around 63% average, but as things domestically as well as internationally has been improving, we have seen a good amount of rollover taking place. That is about the street expectation. Now, the rollover in Nifty stood at 72.07%, which is much higher above its 3 and 6 month average rollover. Whereas if we have a look at the market-wide rollover, it has marginally increased from 3 and 6 month average rollover. Now, as the rollover has increased and the rollover cost has also increased, that has been clearly indicating that majority of the positions have been built up on the on the long side. Talking about the volatility, or say implied volatilities, we have seen that it has been gradually decreased across the month, but in yesterday's trade we have seen a certain spike in the volatility. Now, the activity on the options front has been shifted towards 5,900 call options, 6,000 and 6,100 call options. 6,000 call options stands with highest number of shares in the open interest, whereas on the lower side what we have seen is that 5,800 put option stands with highest number of shares in the open interest, and 5,400 put option is the one which is pretty active. So this would be some 5,800 would act as a support for the market. Now, we would see an overall retracement of the rally which we have seen, but a time-wise correction would take Nifty towards the mark of 5,800. But as a bias for the market is positive. The overall setup of the market is extremely bullish. What we feel is that any dip in the market can be taken as an opportunity to go long. Now, talking about the broader range for the month, 5727 is the lower break-even point of the straddle, and 6073 is the higher break-even point for the straddle. So this is the month's range. From intraday perspective, we have identified 3 stock. Federal Bank is looking positive. We would maintain a stop loss of 469 rupees 30 paisa. IVRCL Infra is looking positive. One can maintain a stop loss of 40 rupees 30 paisa, and Jindal Steel is also looking good. So one can maintain a stop loss of 378 rupees 80 paisa. Thank you.
Here are the important news and events that we are tracking today. First of all, the Q2 GDP number would be out today, and the expectations are that it will be somewhere close to about 5.3% versus 5.5% recorded in Q1. And depending upon what this number is, the market could react. If particularly if the number is way below 5.2 or 5.1, then the market could get a little disappointed, because we've seen quite sharp run up over the past few days. So this could provide some kind of a short-term negative trigger for the market. So let's watch out for this number. The NMDC divestment is likely to be opened on December 13, and as per the reports, the government could raise close to about $1.2 billion depending on what price finally comes out for this divestment. Cipla's African unit has bagged a tender for the AIDS medicines to the tune of 25% of the total volume, and this is positive for Cipla, so one can go long there with a stop loss of 397 and a target of about 417 to 425. Bayer Crop Science has managed to conclude the transaction of land, which would fetch about 1250 crore as they have sold about 104 acres of land somewhere in Thane. So one can go long on Bayer with a stop loss of 1196 and a target of about 1257. For Bharti, there are negative news, and Supreme Court has actually directed the CBI to prosecute all the people who are mentioned in the charge sheet, and this is definitely negative for Bharti. So one can short Bharti with a stop loss of about 2% and a target of about 2.5 to 3%. That's it from all of us, friends. Have a nice trading session and see you on Monday morning.